This is Bruce May. I'm here with David Dodd, and we're at Resilience 2020. This is the second day of the event, and a lot of exciting things have already happened. Can you fill us in on really what's going on here, and is it fulfilling your expectations?
Yeah, and if I may, Bruce, let me kind of introduce, if someone tunes into this for the first time and they didn't know the background of this. As you know, I founded an organization called the International Sustainable Resilience Center, which is a specialist public-private partnership center of excellence under the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe International Public-Private Partnership Center of Excellence. I'm one of 8 centers around the world that specialize in different disciplines, but all are around people first public-private partnerships. People first meaning upholding the 17 Sustainable Development Goals adopted by the United Nations. Transparency, openness, equal opportunity, all of those things that should be inherent in all of us. And so we decided to bring all the centers together for the first time ever.
And they're here in New Orleans.
Here in New Orleans, Louisiana, in the U.S., to provide consultative assistance to a place that is undertaking now public-private partnerships at the state and local levels. Louisiana passed enabling legislation now almost 3 years ago for public-private partnerships at the state agency level, and the Department of Transportation is actually engaged in 2 or 3 right now. So the idea was that this was the ideal place to come, and this is a pilot project. If we're successful here, which I can tell you right now, we are going to be successful. We're in the middle of this event. We still have, let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 more events within this program. And if they go like the 2 that we had yesterday, we'll be able to chalk this up as a success. So the point in saying all this is to give the background for where we are right now. And we have represented 4 of the 8 centers. We have another center that is participating by video conference. So we actually have 5 of the 8. 2 of the centers, one's in Beijing and one's in Hong Kong, were prevented from coming because of the coronavirus. Which has become, my center again specializing in resilience, this has become a part of the issues that we need to address through the Sustainable Resilience Center. Because
it's already been a topic of conversation here at the event.
Oh yeah, and it will be a continuing topic of conversation. And that is a part and parcel of resilience. So we don't just think about natural disasters. We think about things like pandemics. We think about things like political upheaval, displacement of people by force. All of those things are classified under our definition of disaster. The BP oil spill, which is very famous, that happened here in 2010, certainly qualifies as a disaster.
Yeah. And we had tornadoes today in America.
Yes, we had tornadoes in Nashville, Tennessee today. So these events are going to continue to occur. They're going to continue to occur with more frequency and more intensity. As I've said to you before, we don't get into the debate about what causes climate change, but we know science
is changing.
It's changing.
Yeah.
And people just inherently can see that.
Right.
And
we have to adapt.
We have to adapt. And adapt or perish is our motto.
Right.
And again, the center is about 2 different things. It's about implementing people first, public-private partnerships for resilience, flood protection systems, earthquake proofing buildings and infrastructure, but also integrating resilience into all types of public-private partnerships.
Right.
And my senior vice president, David Baxter, who's a world-renowned PPP expert, calls it future proofing, PPPs. So it's investing some now so you don't have to pay a tremendous amount more later.
Right. Well, I've been attending the events, and I think one of the big messages that's come across to me is the people first, right? People first, and the focus, putting the focus on equity and fairness for everybody. So you just don't have businesses making a lot of money. You're improving the entire resiliency for the entire economy for everybody, including the local communities. I think having this event here in Louisiana, specifically New Orleans, where you worked on Katrina many years ago, couldn't provide a better example. And we saw that last night when Andy Knapp gave an amazing.
Andy Copeland.
I'm sorry, Andy Copeland.
Yeah, the CEO of the Greater New Orleans
yeah.
Foundation. Right.
Andy Copeland, the CEO of the Greater New Orleans Foundation, gave an amazing presentation covering the history of what's happened since then and all the things they've done on a micro level, community base, and what they're on a larger level and their plans going
at the
forward,
neighborhood level.
At the neighborhood level. What really impressed me about that was how they had engaged the community and the value and importance of getting the community on board, helping in small ways, but it adds up and becomes very significant.
Absolutely, and it really begins block by block. And when we talk about resilience, and some people get this grandiose view of this, the entire nation doing a plan, it really is down at the neighborhood level that it has to be implemented. And that coincides with the principles of people first, grassroots, bottom up, coming from people, having them take ownership, having them help direct where these investments need to go and how they benefit from those investments.
It's amazing. I mean, when to see a real world example of that. When we heard yesterday afternoon everybody talking about this kind of in a very intellectual way and very interesting and informative, but here was a perfect case study of where it has actually been done.
Right, and where it's been implemented and has succeeded in making a city more resilient. And the people first the principles are very simple. It's inclusion, it's equity, it's transparency, it's resilience, it's value for people instead of just value for money. Public-private partnerships have had a mixed reputation over the years. And part of that is because the guiding principle of public-private partnerships was value for money. And there's nothing wrong with that because it allows more effective and efficient design, build, and operation of critical infrastructure. But what was missing was the people component. How is this going to impact people? And how do people begin the process of taking ownership of those things and understanding how important they are and really getting behind them and supporting them? And that adds an entirely new dimension, and especially in the area of resilience, which again is dependent upon the individual. There's individual resilience, and that's where it starts. And as you know, the motto of the shows that we've been doing, the Sustainable Resilience Show, is resilience starts with you. Well, it's not just a catchphrase. It's really the truth.
Yeah.
Because you have to start at the individual level, then the neighborhood level, then the community level, then the regional level, then the state level, then the national and international level. But it starts with people.
Right.
And so resilience in particular really fits within the people first public-private partnership principles. And I think that's one reason why our leader at the International PPP Center of Excellence in Geneva, Jeffrey Hamilton, who's here with us, that's why he so believes that resilience is such an important component of this, because it fits so well with the concepts of people first PPPs.
Right, I'm seeing that now. I can see how it really is kind of the glue that makes everything stick, and it's going to be exciting to see this play out the rest of this week. And we'll be back, and I want to talk to you some more. And I know you're going to be doing some interviews with some of the people here, so.
Well, yes, and I have to before we go, I have to give kudos to my fellow centers. Again, there are 8 around the world. We have 4 here who have all readily said, yes, we'll talk about resilience. But again, this is a pilot project. So if we talk about resilience now, my dear friend Diogo Olivier, he runs the Center for Water and Sanitation. We may go to Sudan and talk about water. And in that case, I would talk about resilience as it relates to water.
Right.
So that's the exciting thing about this to me, Bruce, is that we are setting now a new chapter in this endeavor to bring people first principles to public-private partnerships for the United Nations and we're doing it in New Orleans, Louisiana.
And you're effectively collaborating together with all the other centers.
Oh, that's what I meant.
Yeah,
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, right, yeah. That we can see that happening.
Well, see, and that's the whole point. The
Right.
whole point is that all the centers come together.
Mhm.
They're more powerful than if they just operated in their own silos.
Right.
And that was something that we decided in a planning process that we went through, and they, I'm very humbled that they elected me chairman, and we came to that conclusion.
Mhm.
And then we said, well, what do we need to do to implement this, to show how this can work? Well, let's go somewhere.
Mhm.
And the somewhere was here
Yeah,
in
well,
Louisiana.
a perfect place to kick it off. So I can't wait to see what comes next. This is exciting.
Thank you, Bruce.